Hey guys, it's hard to believe that this past weekend, mostly on Friday the 13th of all places, we celebrated and continue to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Scooby-Doo. The 50th anniversary, of course, is going to culminate next year, if things go as scheduled, with the theatrical release of the animated film Scoob. So that's going to be something to look forward to. And it won't be Scooby's first time into the theaters, as we all know. Of course, being a Scooby-Doo fan, I've watched Scooby-Doo my whole life. I grew up watching the shows. I remember watching Where Are You as being my first show, watching it. I think it was during its time on TBS and stuff, and I think even into syndication. I remember watching the Scooby-Doo movies, of course, and then the Scooby-Doo show, and then Scooby and Scrappy, so on and so forth. I've watched basically every incarnation that I know of. Mostly the fact that my personal favorite that I really grew up on more so than anything, because it aired during my time in the 80s as a kid, was the all-new Scooby-Doo Scrappy-Doo show, which had Daphne in it, and the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, which was a continuation of that. It was the same series, but it was a different season. So I grew up watching that primarily, and then of course you had the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, and then the one that me and my siblings really watched growing up in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, which was a bit of a prequel series at that time to Where Are You, and it kind of gave us a bit of what I would consider like a hybrid of a 50s like environment combined with a modern day environment at that time of the 80s and stuff. So I really enjoyed a lot of that stuff. So I really enjoyed watching those shows, and of course, up to about the mid 90s, a lot of syndicated stations across America would show the Superstar 10 series by Hanna-Barbera. And three of the movies that they would show were Scooby-Doo and the Boo Brothers, Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf, Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. So I would watch those as well. And the two that I enjoyed most out of those were, of course, the Ghoul School and Reluctant Werewolf, because they had more of a supernatural vibe to them than Boo Brothers did. I mean, Boo Brothers did have a supernatural vibe because of the three ghosts that were basically plays on the Three Stooges. But more along the lines, besides that, it was more of a man in a mask kind of deal. The other ones were not. The other ones were more like, yeah, we're going to go the supernatural route that they really started to get into during the all-new Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show / new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, and more so with 13 Ghosts. So I was glad that when they did the Ghoul School and the Reluctant Werewolf that way, that they kept that tradition going. As for me, of course, I've always been a fan of Scooby. I mean, yes, he has had some downtimes in the series. There's no doubt he's had some downtimes as far as the franchise goes. I mean, Scooby-Doo and the Arabian Nights, that probably wasn't the best look for him. But it wasn't until about 1999 when things really picked up. Now, I do have the movie on VHS, and of course now recently on DVD, but it's stored in my shelf that I'm looking in front of me of. And that's Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. And it was around 98, 99 when they started. It was basically 98 that they advertised this on television and everything as being like a big comeback for Scooby. But this time they were going to go in a direction that a lot of fans were hoping they would go in, and that's realism. Basically making the situation real and threatening. And of course I have Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island on streaming as well, so I can watch it anytime there too. But it was mostly the fact that it was a change of pace, if you will, when it came to the characters and the environments they were in, because they still played along the lines of, like the montage journey they went on throughout the United States in the movie was oh, it's still a man or a woman in a mask and all that. But, pretty much to me, that was a bit of a homage to what made the series popular. But what really, really made this Zombie Island step out on its own was you knew this was building to something that was going to throw that all out the window, and it did. And they would continue this tradition for a couple of more movies, as far as I know. They would keep it going with The Witch's Ghost. They would keep it going with Alien Invaders, and I think they kept it going with Cyber Chase, somewhat. And then they started to do a bit of a mixture to where some of it was supernatural, but the end result would be man in a mask, woman in a mask kind of deal. So it was all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until recently that they really started to kind of go back that supernatural route and everything. But they still kind of kept it true to what the series was. But as a Scooby fan overall, I've had my opportunity to record, watch, and own some Scooby merchandise. I actually own a couple of Scooby-Doo VHSs, mostly the ones that evolve around New Scooby-Doo Mysteries, All New Scooby-Doo Scrappy-Doo Show, something like that. Like, I think I have one where it's the Wedding Bell Blues one, with Shaggy's sister getting married. I think I have the Nutcracker Scoop somewhere, stuff like that. So I have my own peripheral of Scooby stuff on VHS. I even have it on DVD as well. In fact, long story short, there was a torrent. I think it was a torrent that I found one day, and I was able to download various episodes of the series, various episodes, I should say, of the series, and of the all new Scooby-Doo Scrappy-Doo show and the all new. Basically, I was able to record. What I'm trying to say is, I was able to record the all new episodes, the ones I like the most, but the certain episodes of the all new Scooby-Doo Scrappy-Doo show / the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries. So I was able to put those onto DVD thanks to the Windows DVD Maker, and then of course I used DVD Fab, or DVD Fab 6 as it was known, to copy and then make myself copies of several of the direct-to-video movies like Big Top Scooby-Doo, Chill Out Scooby-Doo, stuff like that. But I also ended up getting some of the official releases too. As a matter of fact, if I'm careful going over this for a second, hold on. I have a peripheral of films that I own, and I'm going to show you here once I get them all together. Well, some of them I don't really want to mess with right now, but one of them I do have that I have, again, just like with Zombie Islands, in my DVD shelf, in my DVD / Blu-ray shelf, is Frankenscoob, which kind of is a mixture of playing with the supernatural person in a mask kind of deal. But I do have a peripheral of movies officially. I have enough movies and sets officially, not just through DVD Fab and all that, but officially as well. And so I'm going to show you a little bit of that right now. Now, first of all, I will let you know that I have a Scooby plush, a small Scooby plush, and I have a Daphne Blake plush, but they're kind of put away in storage in the garage right now. I have to get to them down the line, but I do have those. As well as I have this, and they've actually re-released this. This is Series 1, so I think they've released Series 2 or Series 3 or something like that. Or they've re-released Season 1. But this here is collectible figures of the cast with a villain along with them, and here we have Daphne and one of the skeleton men. So we have that right here. We have Daphne and one of the skeleton men. I'm just going to adjust this for a second to make sure. Okay, we have Daphne and one of the skeleton men here. And this is part of Series 1, as it says. And I think they re-released Series 1, or they got Series 2 out with some of the villains a little bit more different, because this is the other cast you can get here. And the big one, of course, is the Mystery Inc. van, where you can get that and you get Fred along with that. So that's kind of a play set. So I have Daphne, and I think the Series 2 one has her with another character or something. But like I said, I also have the Daphne plush and everything. Now, speaking of speaking of Daphne, of course, I have something else here. Recently, if you watch my two videos before this, my package opening video, the video that I just uploaded, I have a new movie as well, and it's thanks to Frank Hill. It's Frank. This is actually a prequel to the whole Scooby-Doo situation. It's rated G, while the others are PG. We have Daphne and Velma. So yeah, we have Daphne and Velma. This is a prequel to the whole Scooby-Doo thing before I think they met Fred, Shaggy, and Scooby. So yeah, I will give them credit on this. It's nice that they actually took the opportunity to explore the characters individually. Makes you wonder what they would do if they did a Fred Jones film. How they would do that. Maybe it'd be Fred Jones, Fred, Scooby, and Shaggy. Who knows? But yeah, we got a Daphne and Velma film here, so pretty cool. And speaking of some of the movies, like I showed you in my package opening, two of them serve as, I guess you could say, prequels to the theatrical films. So we have Scooby-Doo, The Mystery Begins on DVD and Blu-ray. So it's pretty cool. And so we have that now, or at least I have that now thanks to Frank Hill. We have Scooby-Doo, The Mystery Begins. And then we have Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the Lake Monster, which is the follow-up to this. And again, it's a live-action prequel to something else that I'm going to show you in a moment. So we have this. And they're all prequels to this. Scooby-Doo 1 and 2. Yeah. It's basically those two movies along with that. Those three movies are prequels to this movie and this movie. But mostly they're like prequels. Like this one takes place during the series, the animated version. Velma and Daphne are like a prequel to the whole franchise. And then, of course, Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo wouldn't be known for live action. He's mostly known for animation. So one of the things that he's mostly known for is his animated properties. So we'll get into those in a moment here. And to show you what I mean, here we go. We have a couple here. I think some of these were given to me by Frank Hill. I think two of them were. So here we have the best of, well, at least that's what it's called, 15 episodes, 3 discs, the best of the new Scooby-Doo movies. Now, the reason it's called the best is basically the one thing about the Scooby-Doo movies is they had a lot of celebrity guests, not just celebrity guests, which they could get away with on something like this. But they also had crossovers with other properties, like they crossed over with Genie, Josie and the Pussycats. But unfortunately, they couldn't release the episodes along. They couldn't add those episodes here. But I think they did release them on the Blu-ray release. I have to check that out. But I think they did do the Blu-ray release with those. So we have this, which I was happy to get. And again, this is one of the shows I was always looking forward to watching, because you never knew, even as a kid, watching them in reruns, who was going to be guest starring next. So it's really nice to have this in the collection to be able to watch it. But I could also watch it on Boomerang. on the Boomerang app that I have on my Roku device. And speaking of Scooby-Doo, none of this would have started without Scooby-Doo Where Are You? This is seasons 1 and 2. I think this and the movies were... I think I purchased the movies and this one, I'm not really sure. But this is Scooby-Doo seasons 1 and 2. So we all began here, which is pretty cool. And I want you to notice one thing about these. These have the 60th anniversary logos on them. And this was the 60th anniversary of Hanna-Barbera when they redistributed these. And these are part of the Diamond Collection, if you will. And then, of course, got this one. This is also part of the Diamond Collection. Does not have a slipcover. Got this over at Target. Scooby-Doo Where Are You? The complete 3rd season. This is actually, I think, if I read this right, I think, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think this was part of the Scooby-Doo show. I'm not really sure. I think I'm wrong on this, but some of these Scooby-Doo episodes were actually brought out in the late 70s, actually. Yeah, they were actually brought out in the late 70s. So, and they were all brought out as part of the Scooby-Doo show, but they were put under the Scooby-Doo Where Are You Chronicle. The one they haven't released yet, and I think it's probably released, but I'm not sure yet, is the Scooby-Doo show with Scooby-Dum and introduces Scooby-Dee. They need to get that out as soon as possible. And then, of course, speaking of shows and stuff that they need to put out to DVD, as I mentioned earlier, we have the new all-new Scooby-Doo Scrappy-Doo show and the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries. We know that the Scooby-Doo Scrappy-Doo show, before it got that all-new name modification to it, we know that for most of it, here's the thing: when Scrappy-Doo debuted around, ironically, the year I was born, or a little around that time, I think, or afterwards. But no, it was a little around that time, around 79, late 78, something like that. When he debuted, it was still Mystery Inc. It was still like Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Except he was involved. And then around the late 79, 80, 81, they started to transition away from that. And they started to focus more on Scooby, Scrappy, and Shaggy, and that was it. And then they did then they introduced new characters through this, like Yappa-Doo. And basically from about 81, I would say the late 1980 to throughout 81 and throughout 82, you had nothing but animated shorts, which kind of caused a decline in the Scooby popularity. And the way you know it was declining is when you had him paired up with Richie Rich, the puppy, stuff like that. So it really wasn't working out well, and it wasn't until about, like I said, 83 when they realized, hey, we need to bring back one of the characters and kind of get back to its roots. And, that's what all new Scooby-Doo Scrappy-Doo show / new Scooby-Doo Mysteries came into play. The all-new Scooby-Doo Scrappy-Doo show / new Scooby-Doo Mysteries came into play. And that's a series, that series right there is a series that needs to come out to DVD. It really does. And speaking of series that kind of followed after that, this came after the new Scooby-Doo Mysteries, and it really took it in a direction that, like I said, when they did the Superstar 10 movies, that Ghoul School and Reluctant Werewolf, more so than Boo Brothers, took, more so than easy for me to say, I can talk here, more so than Boo Brothers took it. But basically, this series, which was the final in the original Scooby-Doo run, took it to a level, like I said, Ghoul School and Reluctant Werewolf carried it, continued it on, unlike Boo Brothers, which had it, but not much, still kept it traditional, old school Scooby-Doo. And that is the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Yes, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which I do have a DVD fab copy of as well. It's here in my storage auto. And it has basically the same cover, except the cover that I printed out at the time is all bleached. It's all kind of worn down. It's like discolorized because the color was... We basically ran out of colored ink at the time. So I did the best I could. But it's basically the same cover, but the only difference is it has the title in French right here. But yeah, basically I enjoyed this series. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice take on a nice... And I think it obviously... looking at it now, and definitely doing the research and everything thanks to the internet over the years, I believe it was a nice, kind of like swan song for the original run of Scooby-Doo, because you're always having that anticipation of all the ghouls, all these ghosts real, these ghouls, monsters real and everything. And it was finally this, that with a few exceptions in New Scooby-Doo Mysteries, and somewhat in the old school 60s and 70s Scooby-Doo, that we finally got the revelation that yes, there are real ones out there. And I also like the fact that they gave the characters new looks at the time. Like, everybody's wondering, where did Shaggy's red jacket come from? Well, here it is. Oh, red shirt come from? Here, red shirt, blue pants come from? Here it is. Where did Daphne get that new look people talk about that's similar to April O'Neil, that she kind of paid homage to in the Curse of the 13 Ghosts, which is... I will get that right here. Which is a follow-up / sequel to this. It's this look right here. Well, everybody wonders where she got that different look. It came from here. And this is where we also got introduced to the character Flim Flam, which some people did not like, some did. So, yeah. And this, again, was the last run of the original... This last series of the original Scooby-Doo run, and it came to a halt basically due to controversial means. Basically, long story short, you gotta look this up, but there was a lot of religious groups that did not like what was being done here with the series, and so instead of giving it a decent closure, the series just ended. The series just ended with them getting about 12 of the 13 ghosts, and then that's why earlier this year, in time for the 50th anniversary, Hanna-Barbera, Warner Brothers decided to release The Curse of the 13th Ghost, which was a follow-up. The only thing about Curse of the 13th Ghost, despite the fact that giving it some time and everybody else doing some more, and hearing what other people have had to say about it, and kind of watching it a bit myself, basically the one problem people have with this is they're trying to rewrite the lore of it. Like, they're trying to rewrite the fact that Scrappy was never part of it. They're trying to, write the fact that the whole situation was an hallucination done by altitude air deprivation or something like that. So those were some things that, despite the movie being decent, some just did not like about the about how they tried to resolve it. Some now, like the long-haired creepy guy and Decker, who he did a collab with recently on this, reviewing the movie, basically did kind of agree that, despite what some others might say, it didn't it didn't insult it too much, but mainly it kept it open-ended. Like, yeah, the twist or the answer they gave is not the best, but is it the real answer? Because we don't really know. So it's kind of an open-ended answer. But yeah, this is where the original series ended before we went to Pup Named Scooby-Doo route and things after that. But then, like I said, it was a dry spell for a while, and it wouldn't be until after the new movies came out around '98 with Zombie Island and so forth, and even the movies themselves, the live-action ones, that we would get an all-new animated series, What's New Scooby-Doo, which ironically Frank Hill sent to me as well in the package I got over the weekend. And ironically, Frank, just to let you know, just like I said with what was it, 13 Ghosts, because I DVD fabbed that along with some of the other stuff, used DVD Fab 6, that is, to get my own copies. I did the same with What's New Scooby-Doo. So yeah, I have What's New Scooby-Doo complete set again in the storage shelf that I have, courtesy of DVD Fab 6. But it's nice to have official copies on hand when I want them. So yes, I can watch these now without having to dig through my stuff and all that. Now I think it's more episodes. I think mine. I don't know. Is this? Let me see. It's 2 discs, 2 discs, 2 discs. So it's about 6 discs. So yeah, it's about right. So yeah, thank you very much for these. But this, to me, when it came out back in the early 2000s and ran for a couple of seasons, 3 seasons that is, I thought was the best Scooby-Doo show I'd seen. It kept the traditional old school Scooby-Doo lore of man, woman under a mask, but it also made it a little bit more unique and different because it added some guest stars in there like Mike Piazza. That was a surprise. And another thing they did is they kind of made it a little bit more personal. They made it more personal with, some of the villains being connected to the group itself. Like, there's a character that's kind of a hippie like Shaggy, who was a villain in one episode. There was a teacher or a mentor that Velma looked up to that was a villain in another episode. Stuff like that. So it was really... So, despite keeping it similar and all that, it was basically, keeping it similar and old school style, like with a modern take and everything. Honestly, it was one of the best versions of Scooby-Doo I'd ever seen. They spun off with a couple of specials that I actually have somewhere in my holiday DVDs, I think. One is the Scooby-Doo Christmas one, which I think they may have added onto here. I have to look. The Scooby-Doo Christmas one. They did a Scooby-Doo Valentine one. They did a Scooby-Doo Halloween one with Kiss. So, yeah, they did a lot. So I was actually happy for that series. I was actually glad to have that series. And again, just like I said before, some of these I can watch it courtesy of Boomerang's stream too. So, but it's nice to have these on hand. Really nice. So, you would think that, okay, after What's New Scooby-Doo, and you have the direct-to-video movies, which some of them actually were based on What's New Scooby-Doo, just by the character designs and even some of the references and stuff. Heck, even the Hex Girls made returns in What's New Scooby-Doo. Despite all that, you're wondering, okay, are we ever going to get another Scooby-Doo series? Well, strap yourselves in, because we did. Now, here's the thing. We wouldn't really get a decent, if not great, and if not talked about Scooby-Doo series until about several years ago. And obviously it doesn't feel that long, but it was. Because in between we had Scooby and Shaggy Get a Clue, which nobody liked. I don't know what they were thinking about that. But the one that followed, the one that followed though, really hit it out of the park. And just like with What's New Scooby-Doo, it's the incarnate, and just like with What's New Scooby-Doo, what I'm trying to say is its predecessor, well, not predecessor, but its follow-up as far as Scooby-Doo goes was not well received, and that's Be Cool Scooby-Doo, not well received. But that's why we now have Guess Who Scooby-Doo, or Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, which is a homage to the new Scooby-Doo mysteries. But in between all that, we ended up getting a series which a lot of people liked. It was definitely a different take on Mystery Inc. It gave it basically that novelization, or as Bob Show puts it, that nullification, Christopher Nolan that is, of Scooby that we didn't think we wanted. but we never thought we needed. Mystery Incorporated. It was called Scooby. Now, according to this, it's called Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, but it was actually Scooby-Doo. But it was actually just called Mystery Incorporated, and it is a 52 episode series. I don't know if they. I think they did one. I think they did another. I don't think they did another season. I'm not really sure. But this was probably me. You want to talk dark and mature? This series here definitely took it to another level. Really did. It really took it to another level because, you know, it was basically, you could tell by the story element, it was aimed for an older audience. It had that, it sort of had that teenage novelization kind of feel to it. Hold on, let me check something here. Like I said, it had that teenage novelization to it, to where, you know, you just had to watch the next episode to see what's going to happen next. You gotta watch this. You gotta just keep going. You gotta keep paying attention to it. It was that kind of vibe, and that's what made it so good, because you never knew what was going to happen. And unlike the other ones, the other previous Scooby things, what made this so popular is it had an ongoing story arc that ran for the entire series. And it kept people invested. It got me invested. At first I wasn't too sure about it, but the more people were talking about it, the more I figured, you know what, I'm going to check it out. And sooner or later, I watched some clips, gave some episodes a look, and I was like, yeah, I can get behind this. I can get behind this. More so than Be Cool Scooby-Doo and Scooby and Shaggy Get a Clue. And here's the thing. If you were to rank the best Scooby-Doo shows in the franchise history, Mystery Incorporated would be right up there in the top 3 or 5. That's not a joke. However, and I'm going to... Here we go. See, we did one for... Yeah, it was 2 seasons. Let's see, the episodes. Give me some episodes here. Come back up with it. So, let's see. Let's see. Okay, so again, this series was really good, and like I said, you rank some of the best series in Scooby-Doo franchise history. This is in the top 3 or 5. The only thing, though, that I think really got some fans kind of like, you know, like, excuse me, what did they just do here at the end? Was the final episode, Come Undone. You see, in Come Undone, the final episode, basically the final moments, rebooted everything, retconned everything, to where the only people that remember anything, the only ones who remember anything happening, is Mystery Inc. itself. Because basically those last moments, when everything got retconned, and it was kind of like, so Mystery Incorporated wasn't something new, you just, in the last few moments, turned it in, just admitted that it's not something new, it's not some kind of new take, but you just admitted in these last few moments of the final episode, it's a prequel to Where Are You? Yeah. Scooby-Doo, Mystery Incorporated, and this last episode right here, Come Undone, in the last few moments, was basically turned into a prequel for this. And that's what got some fans a little confused at first. It's like, so we have this epic storyline, you have them in this setting of Crystal Cove, and this is one of your best incarnations that everybody is talking about of Scooby-Doo, and you end it by basically retconning, or soft rebooting, soft retconning, everything that's happened to make it a prequel to the Where Are You series and the franchise as a whole. So yeah, even before 13 Ghosts pulled the thing it did, to the mixed reaction of some fans, Mystery Incorporated with Come Undone did it before anybody else, or did it before that. So yeah. Though besides that, the series is good. There's no doubt the series is good, and I highly recommend watching it when you get a chance. I mean, again, you want to talk about dark. You know, people complained about 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo being dark and controversial. Imagine if this series would have came out at the time. Anyway, though, overall, yeah, you know, Scooby-Doo is... There's been so many incarnations of Scooby-Doo over the years that it's not going to matter what generation comes next. There's always going to be a Scooby-Doo craze. I mean, look at freaking Pokemon, for goodness sake. Pokemon's been going on for over 20 years. And it's still as popular, if not as crazy as before with its fan base, because of the generational gap. Different generations getting into it. And now you can only imagine that all those generations have gathered together in celebration due to the fact that freaking Ash Ketchum finally won a damn league. Yeah, it takes 20 years. You couldn't let this culminate after Pokemon went through its initial run on the original broadcast series? Just saying. Anyway, besides that, yeah, Scooby's gone through a lot through the generations, animated-wise, merchandise-wise. I mean, I have a T-shirt that says, what happens in the van stays in the van with Shaggy and Scooby in the Mystery Inc. van. So, overall, though, just a tremendous series, and I can't recommend it any more than what I am now if you have not seen it. I even have some Scooby-Doo comic books. I actually do have some Scooby-Doo comic books as well. And I also have Laugh Olympic comics books. And believe it or not, a little bit of trivia in case you don't know this. Laugh Olympics was once originally known as Scooby's All-Star Laugh Olympics. Yeah. Because it was a 2-hour block where the first half hour, the first 30 minutes started with a Laugh Olympics episode, and the last 30 minutes ended with its conclusion. Yeah. It did. It's like you had the first 11 minutes or so dedicated to it, and then the last 11 minutes, dedicated to the second half of Laugh Olympics. And in between there, you had Blue Falcon and Dynamite, you had Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels, and you had Scooby-Doo, the Scooby-Doo show, and I think Scooby-Doo Where Are You, the third season. So, yeah, originally it was known as Scooby's All-Star Laugh Olympics before it got shortened to Laugh Olympics. But overall, though, guys, I can't say any more than what I have. I mean, I think, an animated girl's profile on Daphne. That shows you how much I like Scooby-Doo. But overall, yeah, can't say any more. I mean, I grew up on the show in the 80s, even though it was around for about 10 years prior to my birth. So it's 10 years older than me. Yeah, but it's one of those shows that even though it began in the late 60s and thrived throughout the 70s and the early part of the 80s, it's a show I grew up with throughout the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s that I think no matter what kind of incarnation we get, we're still going to be watching it. So we're still going to pay attention to it. I mean, Scooby-Doo and Guess Who is always making headlines for the next guest star that's going to show up. Like, they just recently had Steve Urkel, a.k.a. Jaleel White, debut or guest star. They had Kenan Thompson guest star. So it's obviously making some waves with its paying tribute to its celebrity stars that it's getting, but also paying tribute to the new Scooby-Doo movies, which obviously it's an homage to. So, anyway, though, guys, that's all I'm going to say on Scooby-Doo and its 50th anniversary. I can't wait to see what Scoob is going to be like when it comes out next year. and I can't wait to see what the next incarnation, animated wise, of Scooby-Doo series and motion picture wise, movie direct to video, if you will, is in the future. I do plan eventually to get the Blu-ray versions of Scooby-Doo Where Are You and the new Scooby-Doo movies. If someone doesn't send them to me before then, which that all depends financially on both ends, if you know what I mean. So overall, though, just thought I'd come on here, give you my memories and thoughts in celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Scooby-Doo franchise. So let me know what you guys all think down below. What are your memories of Scooby-Doo? What are your favorite movies of the direct-to-video movies? Did you guys like the live-action ones? What is your thoughts on the animated series, like from Where Are You all the way up to Mystery Incorporated? And really, that's about it. So that's all I could say, guys. So let me know what you all think down below. Comment if you like, and I will talk to you all later.